Hello, happy Friday. It is so nice to see you guys again. It has been a hot minute since I've been live. So let me reintroduce myself because I know there's a lot of new faces on here. So my name is Amanda Rose. I'm the CEO and founder of the Infinite Power of You Inc., co-founder of the No BS Biz Co. Limited. I am a multi-published best-selling author through multiple genres. The two main categories I write in are self-help and science fiction, but I also have a cookbook, journals, business, like all over the place. I just love writing. I'm also an avid course creator. I'm a coach. I do business, wealth, mindset, manifesting coaching. I mean, I love diversification, and I highly recommend it in life and business to keep your life fun, and also for revenue streams, it is a big plus. But today we're going to talk specifically about books because that is one of the number one things that people set as goals, New Year's resolutions, life goals, like bucket list goals, is to become a published author. And yet very, very few people actually follow through and do it. And even fewer of those people are successful at it. So I want to kind of walk you through some of the options you have. And then if you're really serious about making that dream your reality, some steps you can take today to get your head in the game and get that goal on track to happen. Because it's one of those things that's very much about your habits. That is what will get your book done. And then we'll talk about what happens afterwards. So first things first is, what are the options that you have available? And really, there's two main options available to you when it comes to getting published. You can either write your own book, which is a wonderful, soul-fulfilling journey, and I highly recommend it, but it is a big project. It is months of dedicated work, followed up by months of dedicated marketing. Like it really is a big undertaking, and I'm not trying to dissuade you because I would give my left arm to do it again and again and again for the rest of my life. I love writing, and I will continue to write book after book after book because that is in my heart and my soul. So I highly recommend it if you're called to that. However, if you've been dreaming of it, but it's like, oh my God, this project's huge, and I've got 10 billion other things to do in life, which is the case for most of us, one of the best options available to you at this point is to get into a co-authored book on a subject that you find really meaningful. And there are co-author books in so many genres out there. There's basically, sky is the limit. So if you want to write fantasy or science fiction, or you are an entrepreneur and you want to share your story or your expertise, or maybe you're a poet at heart, there's poetry collectives. Like there's so many different ways to do it. So if you're like, yes, I do eventually want to write a full-length book, but time is limited, highly recommend finding a co-authorship that is in the genre that sets your heart on fire. Now, particularly, of course, in my audience, I know most of you guys are entrepreneurs. It is one of the best tools in your toolbox to be a published author because it is ongoing marketing. Period, over and out. It will increase your SEO, that is your search engine optimization. When people are looking for experts, you instantly have more credibility when you have a book out on the subject that you also incorporate in your business. So for example, if you're a business coach and you have a business book out, they go together. It'll give you more credibility. It'll be easier for you to sign clients. It will allow a new avenue of clients to find you as well. This is a really neat thing about books because people buy the book. They read it, they're like, this person's so cool. And then what do? We go on social media and we look them up. And it's then that you'll have a new follower. So you're actually creating a steady stream of new leads. That is such a crucial thing in business. I'm always asked by entrepreneurs, like, how do I get more leads? And this is one of the best ways to do it. Now, if you're not a writer, don't worry about it. But if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure you are. And it's extra motivation to do it because yes, there's a lot of upfront work. I mean, books are passive income vehicles. At the end of the day, that's what they are. And what happens with passive income vehicles? They take all of our energy and effort upfront. It's not a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of, that it's the commitment. So whether you decide that you're like, going to tackle my own book, like this is the year, fuck it, I'm doing it, or whether you're like, you know what? Writing a chapter in a book and a co-authorship sounds like a pretty good first step. Whichever it is that is calling your heart, choose it, go for it. And then if you're writing your own book, the next steps are going to be really structuring out time to write it. And I can tell you, before I finally figured this out, I can't even tell you how many half-started books that will never be finished. And the reason for that is I would write and write and write and write and write, and then I'd take a hiatus. And the hiatus ruins it. One of the worst things we can do is write for, a week or 2 weeks and then pause. Because what happens is you forget what you wrote. There's so much that goes into a book. There's so much detail that goes into a book. And particularly if you're writing fiction, forget about it. Like, we can't interrupt the flow. So my biggest thing is, instead of going, okay, I'm going to knuckle down and I'm going to shut myself up in a cabin in the woods for a week and I'm just going to write and write and write. It usually leads to writer's block and you don't get it all done anyway. Don't highly recommend it. Plus, I don't know who has a full week. Just carve out for that. So really, the best thing we can do is carve out a habitual piece of time every day. So what I recommend typically for authors is 30 minutes a day. Most of us can commit to that, whether you got to set your alarm clock a little bit earlier, stay up a little bit later, use your lunch break. We can find 30 minutes a day for something that's really important to us. We can watch 30 minutes less of Netflix. We can, organize our time better. We can find 30 minutes a day. If it's really important to you, you can find 30 minutes a day. And when we do that, if you write 30 minutes a day, every day, you will have a complete first manuscript, typically in 2 to 4 months. It can be longer if you're having a more complex genre. Like, for example, I always tell everybody, science fiction, my sci-fi series is the one that's the hardest to write. Why? Well, it's a space opera, which basically just means there's a whole lot of storylines we're following. I had a reader who said it was basically Game of Thrones in space. I would agree with that. There's a gajillion storylines with so many different characters and they all intertwine and it's complicated and it's hard to keep it all straight. So it takes me longer to write it. But if I interrupted that flow when I write it, I'd never get it done because it's too complex. Now that same thing goes if you're writing a memoir, self-help. It doesn't matter because if we interrupt the flow, we lose, well, did I say this already? Or did I make that point? Or wait, what did this character do before? We get stuck. So the best thing we can have is a consecutive flow. That's what we want, is back to back to back to back. It makes it much easier. Otherwise, we tend to screw ourselves over. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just know from myself and from all of the other authors that I've ever known, this is the method that typically works the best. Now, of course, you're a unique individual. You have to find what works for you, but I really am a big proponent of using this methodology of carve out 30 minutes a day. Stick to it. If you have more time one day, great. And if you have a really, really, really tight day, show up for 10 minutes. Just keep the flow going is essentially what we want to come back to, is keep the flow. When we do that, you have that first manuscript and it's oh my God, it's so exciting. But then of course there's a million other steps to do. So the next question that entrepreneurs who are doing their own book have to face is, well, how do I want to get this published? And there's, of course, 3 main routes that we can go. We can go through the big publishers that we're all aware of, like Penguin, HarperCollins, all those big guys. There's the middle of the road publishers, small press to medium press publishers, and then there's self-publishing. Now, I did a little video on this the other day, but I'm going to just address it again here because we're going into all things books, about these 3 options. And basically, when I was like, okay, finally gonna get my book published, I've been over a decade and I'm ready to get out in the world. What I did is I spent about a year doing research, which is why I'm so happy I can pass this information on to you. So you don't have to spend a year doing research on what's the best fucking option for my book. So I can give you the rundown. So basically with the really big publishers, of course, that typically is every, author's dream is to get in with the big ones. But what I want to tell you about that is, first of all, if it's your dream, go for it. Never going to dissuade you from it. But what you need to know is, first of all, they do not take unsolicited manuscripts, period, over and out. Doesn't matter, not going to happen. So what we need to do in that case is get a literary agent. Now, not impossible, but again, that's a lot of legwork up front. You're going to be submitting to a lot of different agents. You're also going to want to know how to look over those types of contractual agreements with them and what is healthy in that arena. It's the same thing if I got actors in my feed, which I know I do. When you're going for an agent for your acting representation, you want to find somebody who's legitimate and who's not just taking your money. So with agents, there may be a nominal fee to get started. That is okay. If there is a recurring significant fee, walk away. This is not good. And typically what they do is if your project got picked up, then they would get a portion of that money. But look over your contract, get a lawyer, do all the things if you're going down that road. Now, what happens is you get your agent and they're going to start submitting your book to all of these publishers. Now, what's really important is you need to communicate with them that you are looking for large press, because otherwise they can just go and submit you to small press, which you could do by yourself. So you want to make sure that if you want the big guys, you have to find the agent who's willing to do that. So there's that aspect of it. There's also going to be a lot of like cleaning up your manuscript. A lot of the times they'll have you like pay for editing up front, not necessarily through their firm, but that's a normal, typical thing, because when they're sending it to these bigger publishers, of course it's going to get like rewritten and all that if it gets picked up, but it needs to be like in really great shape by the time it even gets to them for review. So that's something that's pretty normal with that. So going down that road, it's a long play, and it's not a bad thing. But even we know, Harry Potter, for example, took a good 10 years to get picked up. Was it worth the wait? Well, I'm pretty sure J.K. Rowling would say yes, but 10 years is a long time. So it's just something to sit with. And I'm not saying it has to take 10 years for you, but it also may be never if none of them pick it up. So just keep in mind, these are things for the back of your mind. There's considerations here. With the small and mid-press publishers, all of the authors I interviewed, and I interviewed over 100 authors who had been with small press, and not one of them recommended it. They all said, do not fucking sign up with a small press publisher. Now, please know that I'm sure there are good ones out there. I just have not met somebody who was like thrilled with their small press publisher yet. I'm not saying they're all garbage, but I have not heard good things. There are also things that happens because they end up getting the rights a lot of the time, at least for whatever your contractual consignment is. So some of the things that happen sometimes is they'll publish your book, and if it's not selling really well, they'll unpublish it because it's cheaper on their end, but they still hold the rights for a certain period of time, which means you can't do anything with it until the rights revert back to you. It kind of sucks. Just something to be aware of. One of the reasons most authors would want a publisher in the first place is marketing. But what you need to know is those smaller publishing houses, yes, they do some marketing, but it's very minimal. You still have to be your advocate, your own marketer for your book. So why would you let them have a piece of that pie if they're not really doing anything for you? And there's typically large fees associated with them. A lot of them have you purchase a minimum of like 1,000 copies of the book. That's several $1,000s. Like, it is something to consider. So I can't recommend it from personal experience or from anybody. So I just throwing that out there. Again, I'm not saying there's not nobody. You might find somebody who's like, oh my God, my publisher's amazing, and and you need to get with it. Great. I hope you find that person, but they have not come into my realm. Now, the other option, of course, is self-publishing. Is what I ended up going with in the long run, because you keep the rights to your books. You have to do the marketing anyway, so you may as well get the big piece of the pie. You get to do it with big brand names anyway. You can publish through Amazon, Barnes & Noble. If you're in Canada, like Indigo has a program. Like, the big guys all have programs. And that's where most people buy their books anyway. So you can cut out the middleman, essentially. When we're doing that, when we go direct to the client, you get to be in control. You keep the rights. And the best thing is that it's non-exclusive with almost every self-publishing company. Of course, read all of the fine print, but even with Amazon, for example, it's non-exclusive. And that means that, hey, publisher comes along and they're like, shit, we like your book, we want to pick you up. You can do that. You're not tied in. So you have freedom there that you don't get elsewhere. There's also, of course, so many marketing platforms as an author nowadays. You can get the word out very easily direct to reader communities, which is awesome. So that's kind of where to consider to go next. You know my opinion. I really highly recommend self-publishing as a really great avenue to go for entrepreneurs. 100% hands down. Like, you already know how to market. You already know how to put yourself out there. Keep creative control over your work, as my opinion anyway. So there's that route. Now, if you decide on the other hand, you're like, you know what? I want to get in a group book. I want to get in a collective book. First of all, if you're in the entrepreneur communities and you want to do something that's in the self-help realm, like just scroll your newsfeed or go into some of the like bigger entrepreneurial groups and go, hey, does anybody know of any like book collabs going on right now? They're looking for people, like give me all your deets. So that's one way where you can easily get connected with ones that have that. If you're looking for ones that are a bit more in the creative genres, hit up some of the author groups on Facebook. You don't have to already be an author to get into many of them. And find one that's in the genre you like. So you might find like, you know, fantasy authors. Great, you join that, and then you can ask like, hey, does anybody know, is there like a collaborative fantasy book coming out anytime soon, or they're looking for authors I'd be interested in applying to? You can put that out there. Now, of course, Google is always your friend. You can look things up and you can see what is available out there and just get in touch. And another way you can do this is go on to something like Amazon and Barnes & Noble and look up some collaborative books, ones that you like, and like just contact the publisher and say, hey, when's the next time you're doing one of these? You know, how do I apply to be an author in one of these collectives? So that's a really great way to do that. Now with collective books, there typically is a fee to get into them. They do range wildly. I've heard anywhere from like a few $100s to like about $10,000 per author. It's usually more in the like $1,000 to $4,000 range is the most common. Now a lot of people are like, wait, why am I paying to write? And there's a reason for it at the end of the day, because there's a lot of work that goes into the back end of creating the book. So you're going to be getting like professional editing. They're going to be doing massive marketing on your behalf. They're going to have the book cover design done properly. With the editing, like typically in the book world, you're looking at 3 to 5 cents per word. So it does add up very quickly, especially collaborative books tend to have a longer word count. So that covers that. You're also usually going to get featured on like a website, social media platforms that they're running specifically for the book franchise, which is giving you, again, more SEO, which is a really beautiful thing. So it's just something to keep in mind. Like the way to look at it really is it is a marketing expense, and it's a marketing expense that you pay once that's going to just keep on serving you for the rest of your career. So it's a really beautiful thing. So when we get done, you figure out, okay, I'm either going to write my own book, I'm going to do this. The next steps are clear. You know, you got to write it. You got to commit to writing. You need to review your work. You need to submit it to your editor, publisher, whatever. If you're doing a full length book, and you're like, I am ready to self-publish. There's so much amazing information out there. It can get a little bit overwhelming. I did disseminate everything that I've learned into a 3-week condensed program. It's called the Get Published Workshop, and we haven't really raised the price on it because we want it to be accessible. So that is $395, and it is going to give you everything you need, from writing it to preparing your manuscript, how to edit it or find an editor, the book cover design, what's going to pop, and then how to market it after you publish it. So you're going to have the full shebang there. That is really helpful for you to just easily knock out those steps. Now, if you're like, I don't really want to DIY this shit, I completely get that. I'm really happy to say that my husband and I get to help so many authors bring their dream to life through our book creation services. So we do editing, formatting, the professional book cover design. We even help with marketing if that's something that you would like help with, so that your book is done right. It gets out there. It gets the marketing it deserves. Like, it's getting out in front of the audiences. We love to put our author books like up on our website as well, so that new people can find you. Like, it's such a fun process to get into the mix of. So I'll pop that link in the comments below so you can check that out if you're called to it. And if your heart's like, man, that co-authorship sounds really fucking juicy right now. We have 3 coming out this year. Actually 4, if we're including my other companies. So the first one that we're doing, we're just now bringing in authors for the I'm a Fucking Entrepreneur Volume 3. The first 2 books are fucking amazing. They have had such a hit in their release. So number 3, we're taking authors for. We have 8 spots already filled. So if it's something you're interested in, let me know and I will get you the details. We're going to be opening up soon to receive authors for Spiritual Awakenings Volume 2. Volume 1 is going to be coming out this May, and it is like so juicy. I cannot wait for you guys to read this one. Then we have 6-figure success secrets from 6-figure and above earners, sharing what they're doing behind the scenes and how they got to where they are today and their best tips, which is mind-bogglingly good. And in my other company, we have the No BS Biz Book Vol 1 coming out this year. So we're going to be welcoming authors in for Volume 2 shortly. And this is really for people who are like, cut the shit, real talk. Like, this is business, bitches. Like, we're all about that. So if you feel your heart called to any of those, let me know. And if you're like, you know what, in my heart and my soul, I'm going to write my own book this year. It's time to get it out. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you on that process to make it simple and easy and effective and to make sure that you get it into readers' hands, because it's the whole reason we write them. So if you have any questions, please ask, reach out. Know I'm always here in your corner for you. And just know that I love you guys so much. I will aim to come on live video a lot more often, but I wanted to come and bring some value today so that you have some support on your writing journey. And just know it's a super exciting, wonderful, juicy process. And it's worth all of that upfront work. I know it's a lot of work to write, but it is so worth it. There's nothing like holding that first copy of your book in your hands. It is your brain, baby, in your hands. It's such a wild, wonderful, indescribable experience. So I hope that that is something that you get to accomplish this year. If it's in your heart, if it's in your soul, don't back burner it, because it's so easy to do that. And I did that for years. And when I finally did it, I was like, why did I take so long to do this? So if it's on your mind, if it's something that's in your gut, if you feel yourself pulled to it, do it. Always follow your heart. It knows the way to go. All right. I love you guys so much. Have an amazing, amazing weekend, and I will see you again soon. Bye.